So we'll start off by going to our first resource person to give us some insights about their journey, how they've gotten to where they are. Just a brief introduction. And over to you, Dr. Etang. Just tell us a bit about yourself and how you obviously made the decision to become a doctor, a medical professional.
Well, thank you so much for having me. As you already said, my name is Enwong Etang. I was born in Jos, Nigeria, but I'm originally from Akwa Ibom State. I had both my nursery, primary, and high school education in Jos, and subsequently moved to Edo State, where I had my university education while in Jos, and that's where I met my wife, Dorcas, which we've been married for 13 years in January, and we've been blessed with two amazing kids. We moved down to, so my medical career started in Jos, in Edo State, where I did my med school. I think I knew from pretty much from primary school, I wanted to be a doctor. I primarily wanted to be a missionary, but I felt I'll be able to serve my mission field at that time through health, and that's what inspired me to get into the healthcare profession. When we moved down after my training, my undergraduate training in Edo State, my wife and I moved down to South Africa. I think we were here in 2009. So the transition from working in Nigeria and working here was a big transition because South Africa has its own unique challenges, especially having to do with healthcare practitioners that did not train in South Africa. But I'm going to say I was fortunate to have had a bit of a journey that wasn't a straight line journey, but I was able to get into the system, wrote my board exams here, had to repeat my internship again here, and run through the process of doing community service, and now finish my residency in family medicine. So at the moment, I've just completed my residency in family medicine. I also lecture in Walter Sisulu University. I teach the first year, third year, and the fifth year, a few courses there. I'm also still do clinical medicine, as is written on the screen there. I'm an outreach physician to a local clinic, and I also have special interests, which is primarily rural health, telemedicine, which has become very prominent, especially in the days of COVID, where there's limited access to people. And seeing that where my training my training and where I work is in a very resource-constrained community, telemedicine has been able to thrive, especially where we don't have so much laws surrounding it, like in the United States, where they have HIPAA laws, but they're gradually trying to make the laws around it. But having said that, in summary, I've had a bit of a trajectory from my medical education in Nigeria, my internship in Jos, in a missionary hospital called Jankwanu, and transiting here to South Africa and working here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Etang. I think we would like to hear more about why you made that decision to run away from Nigeria. Thank you very much. So next on the line is Oluwakemi Olotu. Hi, Kemi. If you don't mind just giving us a bit about your background and how you've made that decision to step into the healthcare sector.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Oluwakemi Olotu. I'm a registered nurse. I'm also a nurse practitioner because you have to be both. I started my healthcare career, I guess, you know how it is in Nigeria. I went to school with Hope in Akim. So as everybody knows, I didn't really have the backgrounds to actually go into medicine for myself. I wanted to be a lawyer, I think. But you know how the educational system in Nigeria is, you do well in school and somehow you end up in a science class. And as a science student, you can And as a girl, everybody says, you're going to become a doctor. You're going to become a doctor. So, I took that in strides, but I'm sure we know how everything usually goes in SSCA. I didn't pass my physics. I had a P7 in physics. So, of course, I couldn't go to medicine with a P7. So I got into UI for biochemistry. I could do like biochemistry or something like that, or biology. I can't really remember now. Or go to Unimade at that time, do remedials for 1 year, and then do medicine. But then the opportunity to come to America opened up. I traveled with my cousins and my aunt, and I just stayed over. And they asked me, like, Kemi, what do you want to become? And because of what was in my head, I said, I was supposed to be a medical doctor, but I didn't pass physics. So I'd like to do biochemistry, thinking it was the same. So, so I registered into school, and my aunt that I was living with at the time told me, she's like, you know what, your bigger cousin, who is like 4 years my senior, just graduated from from college at that time, from the university, and she had studied biochemistry. And she said, Yemi is her name. She said, Yemi just graduated with biochemistry in one of the best schools in Massachusetts, and she's going to make $21,000 a year. You know what? Don't do biochemistry. Go to nursing school. Do it for 2 years. And then you can still continue with the medicine later. So I said, okay, you know what, I can do the nursing for 2 years, and then I can do whatever I want while making money. So I said, okay, I can just do that. Sure. I'm not like the first speaker that had something said I could change. If you had told me to be, an artist, I would have probably said, okay. So I went into nursing school. I was very fortunate to do the 2 years. It wasn't really 2 years. It was what we call over there an associate degree, which would be like a OND kind of here. You can't really do it in 2 years. It still takes about 3 years. So I did that, and I went straight into getting my BSN immediately. And then I decided at that time, like, this is already a career path for me. I'm not going back to do medicine. And that's how I stuck to nursing. So I got my bachelor's in nursing, had my registered nursing board done. And after many years, it took me about another like 10 years. Then I started my master's, and I got my nurse practitioner, which was done in 2019. So that's how I ended up being a nurse practitioner.
I think that's quite an interesting story.
Very.
It is quite interesting, and it's the polar opposite of what Dr. Etang said in terms of you just followed the money.
I did.
Basically.
I followed the money.
It was like, show me the money. That's it.
And then you had the chance to maybe become a doctor later, but you're just like, nope, I already have a career. No point going to study again. I like that. But that's fine. Thank you very much for that introduction. So I'll just quickly go over to Dr. Badmus. If you could introduce yourself as well. I guess you could try and beat Kemi's story.
No, there's no way I can beat that. Kemi left us while we're still struggling to get into the university, and she took off to the United States with many other people. So my name is Hakeem Badmus. Secondary school mates with Kemi and Hope. And for me, secondary school kind of like was the place where I was roaring with people like Kemi and lots of other friends who we all kind of like ended up in the sciences, and we're either going to be engineers or doctors or, one thing fantastic or the other. And it kind of like went natural for me. We wrote exams to schools in the US. We all got admissions into Calvin College and some other schools, but for some reason, I quickly got an admission into University of Obafemi University in Ife. So while others were still trying to figure out what to do with themselves, I had already gone to start my medical training in Ife. And I think at that point in time, I just kind of like shelved some of my travel plans, but it had always been in my mind. So as I was rounding up medical school, I decided to apply for trainings outside of the country. And the first country I went for my training was in the United Kingdom, Warwick, South Warwickshire General Hospital, where I spent some time in their orthopedic department. I wasn't yet an orthopedic surgeon. I didn't even know I was going to do orthopedics at that time, but I guess that motivated me. Working in a world-class orthopedic practice, and I said, no, I have to do something like that. So I was going to write my PLAB exams and, get started with medical training in the UK. And one of the professors under whom I was attached invited me over for the weekend in his house. He was in Birmingham then. And when we went for the weekend, sat down, we had a long talk, and he told me, he said, you know what, you're a very bright and promising person. If you're going to be an orthopedic surgeon and you're going to do very well and you want to work without limits, I would advise that you go back to Nigeria. He said, because if you're in this place, you're going to spend the next 10 to 15 years trying to be what you can become in 5 years in Nigeria, and you can still come back and have, further training and everything. And, we became very good friends. I came back to the country and finished my NYC, and immediately, I don't think I even had a break from NYC. I was finishing NYC in February. I was starting residency in orthopedics by August or something like that. So I kind of like had a very quick progression to becoming a consultant. Just before I finished my fellowship, I got a scholarship, a once in a lifetime scholarship to Tokyo, where I went for oncology and spent some time in Tokyo as well. Had a different perspective of the Asian world and how disciplined they were. Came back, finished, became a consultant, went into private sector. Okay, so I was in Mumbai, India, where I did my fellowship training in orthopedic oncology. Came back to Nigeria, and then the systems kind of like didn't work, and I discovered that you have to be in either the National Hospital in Abuja or Luth or one other place in Kano or Sokoto for you to be able to practice oncology properly. And I didn't want to go to any of those places, so I veered into spine surgery again. So that now took me to Cape Town. So I got to Grotesque Hospital in Cape Town, where I worked under Professor Robert Dunn and learned all the spine that I could learn. And back to Nigeria, started practicing, was not satisfied with the kind of environment, and I just said, okay, you know what, I'm going to create an environment that is going to be similar to what you would get outside of this country. So started off Hospital for Trauma and Surgery, which is in Victoria Island, Lagos. I'm currently the medical director there and consultant orthopedic and spine surgeon over there. So I would say that I am a hybrid of training in Nigeria and several fellowship trainings in different places. And I don't think I've finished yet, because after COVID, I'm thinking of going for endoscopic spine surgery somewhere in Germany or so. So let's see how it goes.
Thank you. Right. Thank you very much for that. I think that was really, really interesting. It looks like you have what's the word? Insatiable appetite for knowledge. which is really good. Thank you. So that's fine. I think I'll just start off in terms of questions. I don't think there's anything in the chat now, so I'll just start off with you, Dr. Badmus. So I know you mentioned that you initially went to the UK for a training at the start of your career. If you could just talk us through that. Did you get a scholarship? How did that happen? And how did you open your mind to think to apply for that? And also Tokyo as well. They're quite different places. How did you get that knowledge to actually try get training in those countries?
So that's the beauty of good networking and friendship and communication. I would say to people who are students in school and coming up to always pick your friends wisely and hang around people that will add value to your life. So I had classmates whose parents were doctors or had some medical background, and one of my classmates, her mom was a consultant pediatrician in the United Kingdom. And, we always kind of like got talking about the practice in the UK and all that. And, I told her, I said, I'm interested in having an experience in the United Kingdom. So I said, I'll talk to my mom about it and tell her that my friend is interested. And, she spoke to her mom, and the mom kind of like had a conversation with me over the phone and told me how to write applications and all that. Internet wasn't so fantastic way back then. So we used to do a lot of mails and letters and all that. We go to the cyber cafe in the school, and you see like 20 people sitting down on different computers, sending all kind of rubbish mails. So while people were sending mails to their friends, I was sending mails to different institutions in the United Kingdom. And one of them took interest in me and kind of like gave me a partial scholarship. So they took care of my accommodation. They took care of my stay over there. All I just needed to do was to transport myself there, more or less. And every other thing was taken care of. And it's also, they read a lot in the essays that you write. So your essays have to be passionate. Your essays have to be focused. You have to be very clear about what you want to do and, show that you have a genuine interest in what you're doing, because they read between the lines also, and they select people that they feel they can impact the most on. So it wasn't an easy program. Most of the programs I've been to, I've not had many other Nigerians in such programs. I find a lot of other people from the rest of Europe and from Asian countries, but you find few people from Africa, in such programs. So I would say that that's how I started with the UK one. For the Tokyo one, it was a competition. They were going to pick one person from each continent. You won't believe it. There are 7 of us all over the world that were sponsored by the Japan International Cooperation Agency. And it was also essay writing and, talking about your goal, your vision, your country, the challenges in your country and how you want to make an impact. And I put in my application and we were screened, and then it came down to West Africa, and then we were screened, and then it came down to Nigeria, and then they gave me a call one day and said, go to the Japanese embassy and go and get your visa. And then the Japanese one was even more elaborate because they even gave you an ATM card loaded with money. They took care of your accommodation, gave you a travel card, took care of your flights from Nigeria there and back. So I didn't even spend a dime, kind of like, and then even gave you money to shop when you're coming back in case you needed to buy books and other things. Those guys are amazing.
I should have paid attention to the sciences.
Yeah, but the interesting thing was I was in a 17-story building oncology center, and not mincing words, I was there 6 months and I didn't see one other Black person in that building. So it just tells us that we don't go out enough. We go for vacations, sure, You know, a lot of Nigerians go for vacations, but when you go to places that matter, sometimes you hardly find people there. So you wonder, where is everybody? Why is nobody chasing after this knowledge? You know?
We're never at the table when it really matters.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. I think everyone needs to, like you said, when you're young and you're growing up, you need to sort of watch the friends that you keep. I think our parents tried to tell that to us years ago, but we didn't listen.
We didn't listen.
It's very important because I can see that all of you from Jos helping each other out. So it's always good to keep your network. Yeah, you're 100% correct. Thank you very much for that. So I'll go to you, Dr. Etang. I know that your story is completely different. But I'll just to ask, would you ever think of coming back to Nigeria and practicing in Nigeria? Because I know Dr. Badmus made that decision to stay in Nigeria. Would you ever think of coming back and moving your practice to Nigeria or working in Nigeria?
Well, that's a very easy question. That's for me, that's a very easy question. I mean, I'm one of those guys that never wanted to travel out of the country. In fact, when friends see me here. I remember those days when we're in high school. I schooled in school called Baptist High School. And there was that phase when everybody was writing this exam called TOEFL, if I remember it very well. TOEFL and the SAT exam. And we used to go to Hillcrest for documentation for preparing to go. My mother was a school counselor at Baptist High School and used to volunteer at Hillcrest at that time. And I used to see all the applications at home at that time. And the truth is that I never thought I was going to practice outside Nigeria, to be honest with you. Even the period I practiced short term in a place in Ghana called the Volta region. It's a very poor area. It was in Ketakrachi. I was there short term. My wife was still working for Kofi Annan at that time, Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Center, before we moved down here. I never thought I was going to practice here. I actually came here because of my wife. That's what caused my transition to South Africa, and the rest, I say, is history. And now we've built a home around here. I still desire to come home personally, but when my wife turns on the TV and watches the news, she's like, "Where are you going to? People are trying to run out." Right? But I'm like, but then our family is home there, so. Yes, but yes, I do desire to practice Nigeria very soon.
That's fine. Perfect. Thank you very much. We have a question in the chat to Kemi. So the question says, how much exposure have you had with organizations beyond where you work based on your present experience? So, and he also goes on to say, do you have any reason to feel that you are missing anything compared to your colleagues in your profession?